everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I'm your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode. Hi. So I'm not sure what happened to this week's guest. I hope that she's all right, but you're just going to listen to me babble on. But I have a topic in mind that I want to talk about. So this holidays, my brain just went blank, So these past holidays, we were watching Ted Lasso. And originally, my husband had already watched the show way back when. And I was like, no, I don't want to watch it. No, that looks stupid. Whatever. I don't want to watch it. Because I thought it was more about soccer than about the characters. Don't know why I thought that, but I did. So he started watching it and in the living room. So I sat down watching it and then I got really into it. Okay. So Ted Lasso, it is a show on Apple TV. And it's actually the only reason that he subscribed to it because he kept seeing it come up on his TikTok. And he's like, I really want to watch this show. So we got Apple TV. Not a heck of a lot else on Apple. Anyways, I digress, as always. So we started watching it. And the premise of the show is a coach from Kansas, United States. He's a football coach, like American football. There we go. And he gets told to come and be the coach for a Premier League soccer, but football team. And it gets really confusing at the beginning when you're used to calling their football soccer and American football, but you get used to it. Anyway, so he gets drafted to go and be the soccer coach over there. He knows nothing about the game. Absolutely nothing. But his spirit is just so amazing. Like, he is just the most positive guy in the world. And then the other characters on the team, you've got the super jock, you've got the ones that want to get along, and really the whole premise is around him rallying the team and doing awesome. I want you to go and watch the show. I don't want to tell you all the things. But the reason I wanted to talk about this show is that it has such a big part on men's mental health. And it's something I know we've talked about on the show. What I love about the Write or Die show is that I'm going to say my guests are probably about 50-50 male to female ratio, which is amazing because in a regular everyday occurrence, it's not too much men's mental health that gets talked about. And me and my husband talk about this all the time, how men's mental health is not seen the same way as women's mental health, which it should be, right? Mental health is mental health, no matter what you are. So I love how they were portraying panic attacks and they brought a therapist in to help the team. And there was just so many of these little components that you can see, wow, this, and at one point, the one character, I'm like, wow, you're a real me. Your words. And when you look at it from a mental health perspective, it's like, wow, no wonder you are acting the way you're acting because you have no self-esteem. So you are trying to break down everyone else around you to make yourself feel better. And that is such a common everyday occurrence with people, especially teenagers. I do not miss those days. But the way that they portrayed it was amazing, that this particular character's arc went from, the shy, quiet guy that you kind of like to a real who you hate. But then he comes back around. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I hate this guy. Let's get rid of this character. I hate him. But then I stop and go, it's because he has no self-esteem, because he's depressed, because he's anxious about himself, right? He has imposter syndrome, like all of these different things. And so when you look at it in that way, it's like, wow, I actually feel bad for this character. Why don't we look at other people that way? Because we don't know what's going through their minds. Interesting. So then the other characters, of course, there's a little codependency relationship in there. It doesn't get a lot of screen time, which I'm kind of glad about because I Not a big fan of the female character there. She's kind of annoying. But it's there, which again gives just that other perspective. There's the main character has some panic attacks, and it's amazing to see again how he deals with it at the beginning, which is what a lot of men do, of hiding. Hide who you are. Don't let people know who you are. Hide it. I'm not saying to actually do that. I'm saying that's what society is saying. But hiding it just makes it worse. And that goes for everybody. When I hid that I was super depressed, that just made me more depressed. So when you hide it, it makes it worse. And you can see that in this show. And of course, there's lots of laughs and hilarious stuff, lots of shenanigans going on, making the show awesome. And then it's mostly male characters, but then the actual team owner, she's a female, and she's also going through her own thing because there's a divorce, which is how she took over the team. And she is trying to figure out who the heck she is through all of this. And so just the character development and everything. I'm really sad that it only had 3 seasons. I could really go for some more of it. I got so into it. But I definitely think that men's mental health is a topic that as a whole, as a society as a whole, we don't talk about, and men are often told to shush, suck it up, go do what you got to do. But that doesn't help anything. So that's why I love that this show really highlighted it in a realistic way. Like it didn't spit it in your face, but it was there, and it was real, and it was raw, and it was fantastic. Man, I feel like I should be getting some kind of like what's that endorsement fee for telling you how good the show is. Come on. But overall, it was just such a good show that I was like, hey, next time that I have a guest that's not showing up for whatever reason, I got some filler now. Woo, filler. And so when I do this show, I am so glad that I have men, I have women, I've had non-binary, I've had transgender, like all sorts of people have come on this show. And I love it. And I love the fact that everyone that comes on this show is speaking so honestly and so openly. That's why it's the catch line. Because it is a hard way to go through your life pretending to be something that you're not, or pretending to be okay when you're not. It's hard. And I see you. Not really, because you're on a computer screen, but you know what I mean. You're not alone. So that's kind of all I wanted to ramble on about today, was just how mental health can be perceived differently depending on what gender it is that you are. It's also a cultural thing, but in this case, this episode's not about that. So if you have not had a chance to go check out Ted Lasso, I would say go and check it out. It's definitely worth getting Apple TV for a month to binge and then get rid of it. That's what I told my husband he had to do. He hasn't yet. Actually, I think we had like 3 months free or something. I don't know, something like that. But it's definitely worth checking out. The characters were amazing. The mental health behind it all was amazing. And it was a good show too. Like it had funny parts. So, loved it. There's other shows. I would love to hear from all of you. Throw your comments down. I would love to hear about what shows you have watched that depict mental health really well. There's this movie. Oh, what was it called? The writing on the wall, writing on the bathroom wall, I think is what it was. My aunt told me about it, then I watched it. And that one was really good too. And that one's a movie, not a show. Netflix, I think I watched it on. And that one, it's been a little bit since I've watched that one, but it was so good. I remember thinking afterwards that it was so good, the way that they were depicting, and I believe it was schizophrenia in this show. And again, they made it so realistic and relatable. And it was so well done. So writing on the bathroom wall was a really good one. I loved about autism, what was it called again? Netflix, but this one's a TV series about a teenage boy. Oh my gosh, my brain is blanking. Oh, I'm going to look it up. Guys. So just like bear with me for a hot second here, because I'm going to pull up my Netflix. I don't know how I'm going to find it without actually knowing what it is, but we're going to go to the search button. Maybe if I just write autism in there, it'll pop up. It did. So this one, Atypical. Atypical. That was a really good show too. So when I watched that show, now it's a male character that has autism. He's got a sister, and he's finishing up a high school. I believe he goes to college. And with the parents, oh my goodness, this show was so relatable. When I was watching even just like that first episode, and I'm watching the mother character, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel you, girl. I feel you." Because he was already a teenager for the first episode, right? But they were talking about how far he had come, and how he used to have like these violent meltdowns and stuff like that, and he always wears headphones for the sensory. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I relate to you so much, and the stress that you were under with raising him." So that show was so good. Atypical, for not just seeing this character that has autism, but also seeing all the other relationships, the one with the sister, the one with the parents. It was so well done. And something that kind of stuck out at me while I was watching it. So the parents were at this support group for other parents that have kids with autism. And the dad said autistic. And then the person running the support group said, "Well, we don't say it that way. We say it where we put person first. So it's person with autism." Okay. Okay. That's fine. As a person with autism, I don't mind being called autistic. I think something like that is very dependent on the person. Um, because even like, so we look at somebody like my husband who has diabetes. I can just say he's diabetic, right? Like, he's diabetic instead of person with diabetes. To me, it's kind of the same thing, person with autism or just autistic. So I don't have a problem with that. But I think it's important to note that some people might. And I had never thought about it that way before. So, if you say something, I don't know, like, "Oh, are you autistic?" for instance, and the person kind of gives you a weird look, maybe, do you have autism, right? Like, just maybe change the way you talk to that one person if it's going to upset them. But overall, honestly, I have no problem with it if somebody says to me that I'm autistic, or even I don't even mind being labeled disabled at times. I mean, especially when I'm walking around with a cane. But overall, I mean, I think the language that we use can be very dependent on the person that we're talking to. And as long as we're using language that is not purposefully disrespectful, like you don't go into a conversation and going, "That's it, I'm gonna make this person hate me." I don't think anybody does that. But as long as you're not going in with language that you think is going to be upsetting to begin with, then it's important to note that, we can learn as we're having a conversation with somebody. I have learned a ton having guests on the show, especially the ones that identify as non-binary. I've learned so much about what they find respectful or not, or disrespectful, in how I'm talking to them. And that's, it's all about learning. And as long as I think, as the person who, with my microphone, as the person that's being talked to, as long as I'm not going, "Wow, this person's doing it on purpose and they're being mean on purpose." They're not. They just maybe don't know. So again, it's just about changing the way that we think sometimes. And then by changing the way that we think, because we've gained new information, because life is about learning. Oh, that's a good quote. I should put that on something. Life is about learning. Anyways, so life is about learning. So as we learn new new information, we can then change. And I think that's how we grow as human beings, right? When we're born, we don't know how to talk, and we learn. We don't know how to walk, and we learn. We don't know how to anything, but we learn. Well, I guess we know how to breathe and cry. Poop. But really, right, that is what life is all about. It's about learning different things, and that learning could change our perceptions. And it doesn't mean that I heard somebody once go, "Well, it's then you're," what's the word? They said a specific word. It wasn't hypocritical, but it was something along those lines. Anyways, and I said, "Well, no, that's not what it is that you've learned new information. So your opinion has changed because you've learned new information. And that's totally okay. If you don't have that information beforehand, obviously your opinion and your thoughts are going to be different than after you gain this information." Makes sense, doesn't it? And that's one of the big reasons that I do the show, right? It's sharing information with other people, so then we can change opinions as a whole to society. Making changes, people, making changes. So yeah, I would love to hear from everybody. Any other shows that you think depict mental health really well? So yeah, we've got Atypical for autism. We've got the Writing on the Bathroom Wall for schizophrenia. Ted Lasso for not just panic attacks. There's some other stuff in there, but that's a main part of it. I don't know any other ones off the top of my head, but I'm sure I will come across some. And I would love if you guys already know some to throw them in the comments down below, and then I can go check them out, providing I have that streaming service. We have too many, but that's okay sometimes. But yeah, so I've rambled on long enough. I think that I've made the point of what I was trying to say this week. So I hope that everybody has a fabulous rest of your week, and just learn some new information. That's what it's all about. As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.